Imagine holding something in your hands that's over 700 years old. I have an item in my collection here that is very old, just like that, over 700 years. It's an amazing item. I'll be showing it in this video, so you'll want to watch a full video to see what exactly this fascinating manuscript looks like with some beautiful artwork on it, and also enjoy a dramatized story of events that surround this very manuscript and the time and location that it was produced. In the winter of 1324, Bologna awoke to find papal banners snapping in the wind. The streets were silent, the gates sealed. The Pope's armies had arrived, and at their head rode a man who wasn't there to pray, but to rule. His name was Cardinal Bertrand du Poujet, nephew of Pope John XXII, a man sent from Avignon with one divine mission: to bring rebellious Bologna to its knees. Du Poujet entered the city not as a shepherd, but as a conqueror. He imposed new taxes, confiscated Ghibelline property, and filled the streets with papal soldiers. From the pulpit he thundered, "Obedience to the Church is obedience to God." To the Bolognese it felt less like faith and more like occupation. But Du Poujet's most enduring weapon wasn't the sword, it was the image. During his rule, Bologna's scriptoria, its monastic workshops, flourished under papal commission. Illuminated choir books, graduals, and antiphonary emerged in dazzling color. Bishops enthroned in gold, saints towering in serene authority, their painted faces proclaiming the same message the cardinal did from his throne, that the Church's order was unshakable. In an age when few could read Latin, art became its own sermon. Every gleaming halo, every gilded crozier, whispered obedience. Faith became a visual empire. But power, painted in gold, still cracks. By 1327, Bologna's patience ran dry. The city rose in rebellion. The people stormed the papal strongholds, and Bertrand du Poujet, the Pope's iron hand in Italy, fled for his life. Behind him, his palaces burned, and the manuscripts that once glorified his rule survived only as relics. Beautiful, silent witnesses to a failed theocracy. The cardinal who tried to rule Bologna is gone, but the art born of his ambition still speaks, its gilded silence reminding us how beauty once used to command belief. So that's a fascinating story with some really interesting elements, some embellishments throughout to make it a little bit more entertaining, but is still grounded in historical relevance, as it is a very interesting story about that particular cardinal. Now, the manuscript I have dates to the same time period that cardinal lived, around the 1200s or 1300s. So the manuscript, I'll show you what it looks like. It's a very small cutting from a larger manuscript. So you'll see it's very, very tiny, but the artwork on it is nevertheless a beautiful image and something that is absolutely gorgeous. I did just sell this one. Somebody purchased this, so I'll be shipping it out today. But it's a beautiful piece. You can find items like this on my website all the time. I have plenty of items like this, so be sure to check that out. But this is just a stunning and amazing manuscript. I really enjoyed having it for the time that I did, but I've gotten some newer pieces, some nicer pieces that I've been wanting to put into my collection, so I'm selling this to help pay for those newer items. So of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on what those items look like, because they are really, really beautiful and amazing. But you can see just the smaller fragment here was part of a larger gradual or antiphonary, basically like a Gregorian chant. There's very large books. They were used as choir books in monastic settings, used of course for worship, and they were very large, oftentimes over 2 feet tall. A lot of other really nice illuminations on it. To my right here, there's this image back here. That is a gradual, a full leaf from one. Some really nice artwork on it, so I'll be doing a video on that in the future. But they're really massive manuscripts. I had one that was even larger than the one behind me, but I also sold that one recently. But if you look on this manuscript, you see some really beautiful and vibrant colors on here. You got the blues and the orange and the red colors, which is just a phenomenal detail, and I really like that bright colors that just pop out. As a collector, that's what I look for. I look for really beautiful illuminations and artwork on these manuscripts, especially one like this, when you have historiated initials or images where it's basically showing a historical scene, is absolutely stunning and something that as a collector I oftentimes look for. but is painted in tempera, meaning powdered pigments mixed with egg yolk or glaire, giving that matte opaque look. The bishop is dressed in his typical bishop attire, suggests a high ecclesiastical rank, especially when you see he has this bishop's staff here, which is a crozier, and he's also holding a book, likely representing the Gospels or the Gradual itself, the large book itself. My guess would probably be maybe the Gospels, because if they were trying to be more accurate with its placement and size, then it would be much larger if he was holding it in his hands in real life. But the framing suggests that he once stood within a larger initial letter, perhaps marking the start of an important chant, like the feast of a bishop or a saint. Now, this manuscript that I have here was produced in Bologna, likely in the late 13th century. So this is just based off of the elements that we can see, the art style. I could be wrong on that, so if I am, of course, correct me in the comments, but from what I've researched and from what the sellers or the auction house told me, they believe that it was produced in Bologna. But during the 13th century, it was a thriving university city and one of the main manuscript centers of Italy. Now, being Italian myself, I find that really fascinating and interesting to have Italian manuscripts in my collection. In fact, I did a video a few months ago where I thought it was a Paris Bible manuscript, but it turns out it's actually produced in Italy, which is really fascinating and an awesome detail that I wasn't aware of. So I'm always learning and I'm always growing as I do this channel. And so I'm always willing to correct myself, but nevertheless, beautiful images and really nice things. The workshops in Bologna specialized in liturgical manuscripts for Dominican and Franciscan houses, known for a mix of Byzantine precision and early Gothic expression. Around this time, Bologna's artists were influenced by various artists. You can see that move toward naturalism in the bishop's calm, expressive face. The style blends rigid formality with human touches within it. And so, as I mentioned earlier, this was also from a gradual or an antiphonary, which is essentially a liturgical document that would have been used in Mass for the Catholic Church. Now, I myself am not Catholic, but I love church history, and you can't go into church history without the Catholic Church, especially when you get to medieval time periods. They were dominating that area and that region, and so you just can't be a collector unless you have those types of items in your collection. So I absolutely love it. I try to have a healthy reverence for these things because they just are beautiful pieces of history and something that, as a collector, man, I can't tell you, I absolutely love it, which is why I do this channel, because I want to train people on this and I want to explain history and especially the Bible from a historical perspective. So that's what I do here, and something that's really cool. But you can see these 4 lines, these 2 different sections of 4 lines on the side of the bishop here, or the cardinal. You can also see it on the back side of the manuscript. These are staves or square neumes, which are music notations. They're visible, like I said, on both sides, and proof that it came from a musical manuscript. You can even see the notes here remaining on the backside, even though it's still fragmentary. The Gradual was the central music book of the Mass, containing chants sung after the reading of the epistle. These illuminations served both as decorative and devotional purposes, reminding monks of the heavenly hierarchy mirrored in worship. The bishop figure itself may have been chosen to honor the patron saint of the community or cathedral that commissioned the manuscript. So as I mentioned in other videos, there was very much intentionality behind all of these illuminations on there. They weren't just throwing in random illuminations all the time. You do see it sometimes because a lot of these scribes or monks had a sense of humor, so you'll see a lot of really funny or unique types of pictures painted on there with rabbits or snails or whatever it may be. Different kinds of things, really funny stuff and some good humor in it. But oftentimes, more often than not, all of the illuminations were very intentional. They were very specific for the manuscript, oftentimes trying to lead the viewer into what the manuscript is discussing. So I've had this in my collection for a few months now. I have absolutely loved it, and I found myself looking at it a lot. But like I said, I wanted to sell it to be able to add some really rare and unique manuscripts to my collection. Just some items that I couldn't pass up. I had to have them, so that's what I'm going to do, and that's how I essentially fund this venture of collecting, is I'll sell some items that I no longer want or don't like as much as newer items that come up on the market. And of course, there are some items that I've just held on to for years because I love them too much, they're too cool, and so it's hard for me to part with them. But that's really all I have for this video. Again, I won't be doing another one on this manuscript because it's no longer mine. So if you find content like this interesting, be sure to check out my other long-form videos. I cover a very wide range of topics covering centuries of church history. So be sure to check out those videos to learn a lot more about those items. Stick around for those close-up shots, and of course, subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on really interesting videos like this. It really helps support what I do here. So I appreciate you guys watching it out to the end, and I'll see you in the next video.